at the level of the human interface, when we disagree and get into conflict, it is the ego, as I said before, that comes to the forefront. Because the ego claims right. How could you say that to me? I am such and such. I belong to so and so family. This is my job. This is what I have. These are the folks that I associate with. Who are you to speak to me like that? When we think like that, it is the ego trying to define our importance. And when there is a conflict, the ego thrives on having a difference of opinion, or rather it thrives on protecting your own perspective. So when we say Bhaiya or Sis or DVD or Mamu or Uncle, I disagree, it means you are fueling the conflict. Last night I went to Price Mart doing some shopping with my wife, and as we were standing in line to cash, long lines in Price Mart, and our trolley was overfilled with all sorts of things that we didn't need either. And a guy came in with 2 parcels of meat, and he said, "Brother, could you just hold my spot behind me? Because it's so much to hold, and I don't feel like holding it in my hands. There are no trolleys. Could you hold my spot behind you?" I said, "No problem." And as maybe 15-20 minutes that went by, the lady in front of me, she called him, she said, "Son, come. You go in front of me and I will allow you to cash." And I turned to the guy and I said, "You know, you just had a double episode of kindness today, because I was also planning to give you to go in front of me." And he cashed. And just as I was about to cash, another young man come with a parcel of Pampers and a little can of milk. And he's dumb, and he's trying to speak to me, explaining he has a child in the car, child is crying, this is all he needs. And I don't speak sign language, but I'm trying to understand what he's saying to me. And he's asking me to cash. And I said, how lucky I am getting a chance to give him a favor. And I allowed him. But as I was walking out, you know, in Price Mart, for those of us who have been there, cashing is one line, and checking out to walk out the door is another line for them to check your receipt to make sure that we are not finance people. Yeah? So as we were walking out the door, long lines again, a gentleman, a goodly gentleman, was pushing his cart, and he decided, I'm not taking this line, I am going straight ahead in front of everybody else. So I gently reminded him, sir, there is one line, and this is it. He looked at me as though, who do you think you are? Why are you telling me that? I am doing all this work. So my conflict management core skills kicked into play, and I walked up in front of him, I handed the person checking the receipts. I said, here is my receipt. Please check it. I am next. He is not. I walked out the door, and he was standing there, very angry, and I was waiting outside for him, not to fight, because I'm not a fighter, but to engage him in healthy disagreement. Maybe he would have told me how I was born and so on, but it really didn't matter. But the point is, sometimes in agreeing with other people, you don't have to allow them to dig out your eye. Sometimes in agreeing with other people, you also need to establish satya. You remember that value? You need to stand up for what is right, and don't allow people to take advantage of you, your family, or compromise your value system. If you have to stand up for what is right, agreeing may take a different approach. And that's the point I made in this point. So first, you put yourself in that person's shoes. Second, you disarm them by agreeing. Not always by saying, I agree. But in most times you say, I agree, because it takes away the sting of that person's approach. And third, you try to find a positive resolution, which is what I was going to do afterwards. If I had failed, no problem, but I would have tried. One of my bosses used to say to me, he said, Krish, sometimes when you're having difficulty at work, he says, you know what? I may not be able to change this world, but I would like to die having fun trying to. I may not be able to change this world, but I would like to have fun, at least trying to. And when you disagree with someone or someone disagrees with you, the third thing is you always try to have a positive resolution. In having a positive resolution, you take out the personality, as Ishwar suggested before. Don't say or respond to another person by talking about themselves or their history. Talk to the issue at hand. So you first understand why they're saying what they're saying or behaving in a particular way. Two, agree with them, which this takes away their weapon. But thirdly, try to find common resolution. Find a positive resolution. And how do you do that? You start by saying, I too may be wrong in what I'm suggesting to you. When you say that, it automatically opens the other person's eyes and perspective to thinking, well, maybe if you think you're wrong, then maybe I am too. And when you start with that, and you establish the need to have a positive resolution and finding common ground, then my friends, conflict and criticism becomes a very healthy indicator in our life. You see, I beg you to rethink of all the episodes and incidents in your life, whether it's in your relationships, family relationships, at work, circles of friends or otherwise. And think of, in hindsight, things that didn't go the way you wanted them to, things that probably resulted in more negativity. Rethink, if I apply this method or these suggestions in dealing with conflict, how could I have changed the outcome? But most importantly, in looking forward, prepare yourselves that the time that someone criticizes or insults or disagrees with you, let that be the trigger to say, Krishen, not the same response, a different one. First, why they're saying what they have. Two, disarm them by agreeing. And third, deal with the issue at hand and find a way of positive resolution. Take away from personality attacks and deal with the issues at hand. If you do that, people will respect you more, but most importantly, you will have more respect for yourself and feeling good about how you manage the situations and differences in your life.